Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today we're looking at Concrete number 1. This is by Dark Horse Comics. This was $1.50, and the artwork says 1986, but it probably came out 1987. A Stone Among Stones. The first appearance of Concrete was in Dark Horse Presents number 1, but this is the first issue of his standalone comic. This blew me away. I really enjoyed this comic. I love the simple artwork, the earthy tones of the colors, and well, let's get into it. Let's open up the comic. Paul Chadwick, Concrete. So this is, usually on the first issue, the writer gives a little story, and let's look at the indie sheet before I say anything else. Yeah, March 1987. Okay, so story and art by Paul Chadwick, lettering by Bill Spice. So as you can see, it's a black and white comic. Dark Horse Comics. Really, well, there was so much good stuff coming up by Dark Horse, notably like Hellboy and stuff like that. And Paul Chadwick, he did a few like other one shots, but this was Concrete was his big thing. I think now he does storyboards, and I think he was one of the guys who did the storyboards for the Matrix. But don't quote me on that one. Again with the freaking coughs. All right, so let's just go. This is Maureen Vonnegut. She's a biologist that's studying him. This is Larry Monroe. This is like a college intern that's helping him out. And this is Senator Mark Douglas. Okay, so there's Concrete. The senator from. So Concrete was Ron Lithgow, and Ron Lithgow was a chubby little speechwriter for Senator Mark Douglas, and him and his buddy went hunting in the woods. And they found a cave, and they explored the cave, and then inside the cave was aliens, space aliens, hiding from humanity. And they captured the two humans, and they transferred their brains into these concrete bodies. And they also did it to a deer, and they also did it to a wolf. And then they were doing a whole bunch of tests on the four concrete beings. Ron's buddy tried to escape and caused a distraction, and Ron Lithgow, Concrete, was able to escape, but his buddy stayed with the aliens, and we've never seen him since. I wonder if that's a future story that to be told. I would like to know what happened. So now he doesn't know why the aliens did it, and there's like no motivations. I guess the aliens were just generally scientifically curious. So what's going on? So I'm not talking about this particular story so much as I'm talking about the concept of the comic itself. This is Larry Monroe. He's getting hired, so he's like the new guy going to work, and that's again the newcomer being told everything is such a great storytelling technique. So they're telling the reader by telling the new character, and that's this guy's job. So anyway, so the first thing he did was he contacted his boss, the senator. And the senator had like the CIA and the NSA and all the Homeland Securities and all the alphabet organizations come and investigate. And after a while, they decided, as long as you don't talk about the aliens, you're free to live a life. So as far as the world was concerned, Ron Lithgow was dead, and he was just Concrete. And the cover story was it was a government experiment in like cyborg military technology, and so that's his new life. He cannot talk about the aliens. So one of the things he talked about is he as a child, Ron Lithgow was interested in Sir Richard Burton, the explorer. And he wanted to start doing like amazing explorations and things like that. So that's what this comic book really is. All the space aliens and stuff like that is just a setup so that we could have Concrete do like stunts. So what happens is they put him on like the talk show circuit. So now he's on like Jay Leno and David Letterman and whatever at the time. And there's a full-on publicity campaign. So he's making money and donating a lot to charity from all of his merchandise and stuff like that. And what he's doing is he's using that money to fund these exploits. So what does he do? He tries to swim across the Atlantic Ocean. They build like these bio tanks, flotation devices, and he swims the Atlantic. He climbs Mount Everest. He walks across the ocean floor, stuff like that. Just like just to see what he could do and test the limits of his body. He also has like supervision. Like his eyesight is like 10 times the distance and resolution of normal people's eyesight, including night vision. So he witnessed a murder, and he went to court, and they're like, you couldn't have seen that. So he was like looking out the window, and he's like, that flag has 16 stitches in the fourth star, and they pulled it in and counted to verify his eyesight. So so here he is. He's rescuing miners. He's going underground and using his body. I don't want to say stunts, because here he is being heroic, but is it really heroic when he's not in any danger? Yeah, why not? He's still helping people, and he's a good guy. He's still brilliant, and he hires Larry Monroe to do like things that he can't do because he can't dial a phone. This was before cell phones. He probably couldn't even operate a cell phone. So Larry Monroe opens up his mail. He he talks to him on the phone, and Maureen Vonnegut is the scientist that studies him, and she, they take like a little saw and cut holes into his concrete and like draw fluid, stuff like that. He also could regenerate. A bazooka blew off his leg, and he passed out and grew back a leg, but he lost a lot of mass, and then he had to eat more mass so his body like thinned out, but then he grew the leg, and then he thickened out again. Also, he started growing horns, and he was like kind of fascinated by him, so he wanted to see how long they would grow. And then some like kid got scared of him, said he looked like the devil, so he got like upset, so he starved himself, but the horns kept growing and growing and growing, as skinny and skinny as he got, so he just files the horns down every day. And he dictates to Larry, who writes for him because he can't hold a pencil. So he's still like a writer. So Larry is like the guy who travels with him, dials his phone, answers his mail, and then and writes for him. And then Dr. Vonnegut, Maureen Vonnegut, is the scientist that studies him. And they're the trio that go around the world, doing daring do and think. But there's no supervillains. There's no other aliens. There's no other meta beings or nothing. It's just the regular world, and then this one guy who's different. And sometimes he gets depressed, sometimes he gets upset. He's carrying a torch for Maureen because what's he gonna do? He doesn't have a human anatomy. He can't fall. Although she goes after bad romance to bad romance, then finally she professes his love for him. It's like kind of like Abigail and Swamp Thing. And the funny thing is, one of the last series, he thinks it's like a chemical reaction of like they would hug each other, and then boom, he gave birth to like a little baby concrete. And that's one of the last stories that came out. That was like 20 years later. But it was an ongoing series, and also showed like short 8-page stories in Dark Horse Presents. And then it became a series of miniseries. And then I think Paul Chadwick just gave up. He was making more money in Hollywood, and God bless him. So I really like this. I used this word before, and I don't mean to be condescending, but it's charming. It's slice of life stories about a guy. He was a chubby, non-athletic, goofy guy who's now given an invulnerable, immortal, regenerative body. So he's just doing cool things with, like, he's trekking through Antarctica. He swims the Atlantic Ocean. Just cool, like, physical stunts like that. He also like goes and helps farmers and plows their, because he doesn't get tired. He doesn't really need to sleep. He just like plows all night long and things like that. So he's just trying to do as much good as he can with this body in a world where there's no supervillains. So he's not really a superhero. He's concrete, and I really, really like it. It was so good. It was one of the few comics I gave to one of my non-comic book friends who basically didn't like to read, and he was like, when the horns were growing and he was like starving himself to death, he was like, oh no, is he gonna live? Like, he wanted the next issue so bad. It was kind of funny. So that's another thing. He could eat anything. So he tests it. So at first he eats food, and then he tests the limit. He eats rocks. He was eating, he read a book and he hated the book, so he ate it, and his body just breaks down everything, and he's it like he secretes a new concrete skin. So like I forget what they did, but something actually damaged his skin, so they spackled it and pasted it up, and then like that acted like a Band-Aid, and he grew back. So he's basically gonna live forever, I guess. Maybe his brain will deteriorate, because that's the only thing that's left. But it's a really, really good comic, and he is the classic Pinocchio. I always talk about this concept, the Pinocchio being the character that lost their humanity and therefore wants to be more human, so therefore he's more human than everybody around. Like Larry gets like caught up in like life's little problems because he's just a normal guy. Whereas Concrete, like somebody will ask for help and Larry will be like, look at this guy trying to take advantage of us, blah, 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 blah. And Concrete will be like, no, we're going to help them. You know, it's the right thing to do. It's a good thing. It doesn't take anything away from me to help that person. And Larry's like, you're right. Because he wants to be human. He's a good sweetheart of a guy. And I really do like this comic. There has got to be a movie. There's, you know, it doesn't need to be a big budget. I guess they could just do like a green screen capture of this guy, and everything else would be normal because there's no laser beams, there's no rocket ships and stuff like that. I think it would be great. But you could get this really easy. They're collectible. So I don't know. I bought these when they came out, so I don't know if these are difficult to find, the floppy issues. But you could get the trade paperbacks. They are really good. If you don't like superheroes but you like comic books, this is right up your alleys. It is really, really good. I found that this, because I'm always evangelizing comics. I'm always trying to get my friends to read comics, stuff like that. I found that out of all the comics I've ever pushed on non-comic book people, this was the one that people like, yeah, that was really good. That was really good. Give me some more of that Concrete. So there you go. This is Paul Chadwick. I wish he would come back and tell more of the stories. I really, really enjoyed him. And this is one of the comics that I do miss. You know, a lot of times a comic book is canceled and I'm like, okay, that was time for that to be canceled. Or the story was told. You know, they did what they wanted to do. This is one of them. I'm like, I miss this comic. And I haven't seen it in years. I think the last issue was like 10 years ago. And I still miss this comic. All right? So thanks a lot. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day to watch my videos. Well, I'll see you tomorrow with another comic. Thanks a lot, guys. See you tomorrow.